Hey everyone, I finally finished reading the Dark Tower series. So let's talk about my experience with the books, my thoughts about the overall series, but not too deep analysis of themes or things that are going on or writing or anything. So it took me about 3 years to read the series. I had planned to read a book a month back in 2017, but after finishing the first book in a month, because I really couldn't get into it and I was confused about what was going on all the time, I put it aside in February 2017 and stopped that project for a while. So in August 2017, I picked up the first book again, reread it, flew through it, loved the writing, loved the story, the atmosphere, and everything that was going on, was really compelled by it. So I don't really know what happened in February, but I moved on to the second book immediately, and I really got dragged into the story there, the things that happened. I really enjoyed how fast-paced it was, how we got to know more about the characters, and how deep we dived into the characters. But the third book, I started to feel a drag. I continued that after the second. So it was October 2017 by now, and I finished it. And I decided it had a length. I was struggling to get connected, to feel interested. So I wanted to take a short break. That short break took about a year. I picked up the fourth book in June 2018. And that book I really didn't like. I was more and more annoyed with the foreshadowing character of that book and how it mostly concentrated on the past but didn't move us forward in our quest. And I was frustrated and struggling, and it felt so repetitious that I put the books aside again for almost another year. I picked up book 5 in April 2019. This one I had the same problems with the writing, but the story progressed more again, so it was more back into the character, into the worlds, and it was nice to hang out with Roland and the others again and do stuff. But I still felt some unhappiness with the writing. Book 6 and 7 didn't make up for that. I finished book 6 in July and book 7 just now in November. And the last book, I really struggled. I didn't like the writing at all anymore. It was very slow. For me, that shows in I can't pick up long stretches of reading. So I read a few pages and then I needed a break because I didn't care about it anymore. I wasn't paying attention, and I just don't like that. There are other things that contribute to that, that I had a print that was very, very small and tiny, so it was hard to read. It was also very condensed information and things going on that I needed a lot more background knowledge. The Dark Tower series uses a lot of references to other literature, pop culture, but also references to Stephen King's other works. And I haven't read anything else. So that might have increased my interest and experience with the books, but I don't know. Also, in the last books, this whole meta fiction that was going on, I'm not sure I cared about it as much as I did about the first books, where it was just Roland and the characters and the world, and not all the other worlds and characters combined. It is an interesting, epic overall span of the story, but it didn't really keep me glued to the pages, especially in this last book where things come to an end and we have to say goodbye to some characters. I noticed I didn't really care. I didn't feel emotionally connected to anyone, so that I didn't care when anyone died or disappeared or left or was left behind. Anything. I didn't care. I'm not a big fan of epic stories that tell one big story over a huge amount of books and pages. So I started to notice that in the seventh book, I really didn't know why we were on this quest, what we were expecting to find once we finally reached the tower. I know that the whole premise of the book is that Roland wants to get to the top of the Dark Tower. But why? What does he expect to find there? I really didn't get that out of it. And once we get there, it feels a little bit like Stephen King also didn't know. It's more like the way is the goal, and I was rather disappointed by the ending. I was glad it ended, but I don't know that I really expected this after such a long time and that it was satisfactory for me. But since I wasn't satisfied with the series for almost 3 books now, that's not to be surprising. Overall, I noticed that I didn't have enough background knowledge of Stephen King's work to really appreciate all the references and all the special things that you could probably find in there. I also noticed that his style of writing is nothing that I ever want to experience again, so I will not pick up any of his other books. I will also not reread these books probably, because overall, I did like some of the characters, I did like some of the storylines, but there was so much drag in the middle and so much repetition and foreshadowing that I don't think I want to do that again. I don't know if I want to recommend this series, because if you like Stephen King's writing, you're probably going to like this and get more out of it, because you can understand references much faster, and also the subtle ones that weren't pointed out for everyone who didn't read the books. And also, if you like epic fantasy stories that are quests without really a big goal that is a climax at the end, I think you would also enjoy this. But for me, it just wasn't. I'm glad I read it. It's been an experience. I'm glad I persevered and finished it and can check it off a list. But that's all it has become, checking it off a list. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in comments what you think about the series, and we'll talk about other books that I enjoy more in the future again. Bye bye.